This is the first day of playoffs. We're going to go over the matches that just happened today, just because it's way early in the morning, at least here in America. And so we go over a recap of how the games went, just because there's a lot of odd things that happen, things that haven't normally happened in VCT, like Ethan playing Neon. That's a new thing. So yeah, in this format, it's single elimination, so every game is really important. And the best thing about today was that each game went to 3 maps. So spoiler alert, we're about to dive in. And so for the first game, it was Team Heretics BBL, and you can clearly see that as it went to the later maps that, or even the later rounds, like each round was so crucial in how the the teams were playing. There was a lot of clutches. There was a lot of pop off moments. Whether it be Loida or even Boo, sometimes Woot. I think the odd man out was Kosh Morris. Like I don't think he really had a good performance today. But we're gonna start off with the first map, and that was Breeze. And Breeze, oddly enough, I feel like Breeze, in my opinion, is a lot more attacker sided, just because there is a lot more space to be able to work the map. And if you're hitting a site and there's long rotates, then I feel like it tends to lean the defender side. It all depends on how you play the map, but it seemed to be a lot defender sided for each of these teams, just because there was a lot of rounds in the first half where Team Heretics won, and then on the second half it was quite the same for BBL. This ended up going into overtime, and it ended up being a 16-14 for Team Heretics. It seemed like for the most part they had a strong hand on the map. It was just about BBL bouncing back towards the end and kind of having playing catch up. But Heretics ended up winning that game, and going into the series, it seemed like they just had control over the map pool, or at least the map draft, just because they're going into Lotus, which seemed like their most favorable map. Even in stage 1 of EMEA, it seemed like a lot of their playoff run was built off of that map, a lot of wins on that map. But going into this game against BBL, they had a really lackluster. They didn't even show up. That's what it felt like, because BBL were just straight dominating. They had Rock on the Rays, they had Lovers Rock on the Neon, and for the most part, it just was a blowout. It was 13-2 on Lotus. It wasn't even close to being competitive. Then Sunset, there was a lot of funny interactions. There was a crazy 1v3 from Rose that led to the momentum shift in the later half of the second round, which I think probably won them the game at that point. And then there was also the 1v1 where Loida, or actually I think it was a 1v3 with Loida on the pistol round, where he is in like cubby spot of on Sunset, and I'll show the clip. And pretty much he's in this position, and in this interaction, I guess we don't know as the viewer, but Benji runs out of bullets, and he, to the viewer, it looks like, what is he doing? He's just jumping with his knife out. But I guess in that scenario where he can't pick up a gun, that's the only thing he can do. And so there's a lot of funny interactions, but it felt like BBL kind of just was suited for the map. Like they came in prepared for the map. It kind of seemed like Breeze where Team Heretics were dominant in the first map, and it seemed like just be a similar phase of the second map, or the second half of the third map, where they would end up winning the game. But BBL came out, they won the pistol, and then from there on out, they only gave up 3 rounds besides their bonus round. Oh well, including their bonus round. And to me, it seemed like BBL became the stronger team once they dominated Lotus. Once they knew that they beat them on Lotus and dominated on Lotus, they felt like they always had the upper hand. Even if they felt like they were losing in the series or in the third map, they knew that they could respond and eventually win the second half, because it was a 7-5 pistol. They win that, and then from there, no matter how many rounds, especially with the Rose Clutch, they just end up winning the map. And some commentary on this, I think that Team Heretics just don't seem like the dominant team. Like it seems like they're leaning on the core that they have right now, but I simply don't think that's gonna get them across the line. Personally, as Kosh Morris, like yeah, he's setting up Boot to be the primary guy, in the sense of where you can kind of see Kosh Morris as like kind of baiting, like as a Neon, because that's a lot of the Neon style. That's what Domby did. kind of did, the baiting style where I'm gonna, fly around the map and, set up my team, but also Dombi has the impact to be able to, clutch and get multi-frags while also being on the Neon. Where it seems like Koshmars hasn't extended into that second phase of being able to frag and also carry the team in that sense. He does have a couple maps where he does that, but at least recently that hasn't been the case, and which has been detrimental to Team Heretics. And so I don't think I have, any positive inklings for them. They just, previously beat or won EWC last year, and they don't even make it out of, the first round of playoffs. Um, I don't see them getting any better going into the next year. And for BBL, it seems like a resurgence. They kind of dipped into stage one, and they didn't really even look that great, or at least in any form since the Yoru nerf. And so from there, it just seems like they're kind of gonna fade out of, maybe not even make playoffs in EMEA stage 2. But right now, it seems like a really good resurgence. They seem like a really strong team, or at least, building up to be a really strong team. And they're going to face, one of the winners of this next match where we're going to cover. That's Gentlemates and NRG. And Haven, it seemed like a pretty competitive map for both parts. Like, there was a lot of back and forth. I think what I really liked is how they're leaning on Kiko to be the chamber, and which is probably an odd statement because we don't really see Kiko be another chamber or another flex role besides Duelist, especially when he was in Liquid. But now that he's on NRG, it feels like they're trying to grab onto something, and I like the direction that they're headed. On Haven, again, there was a lot of clutches. Even Prox or Pro, I don't know how to pronounce his name. There was a lot of clutches from it, and seemed like a really good sign. And honestly, in my opinion, an upgrade in their smokes position, just because like there was so many times where he was in a clutch, even in a 1v5, where he would get 3 in a 1v5, but they would still end up losing the round. And there would be scenarios where he is in a clutch position and he does get a clutch. So he has capability of multi-fragging, which I think that Glyph has really good util and has, really good stability. But I think the thing that he was lacking was a multi-frag. Being able to hold a line and get 3, or swing into people and sometimes even get 2. And so that's good signs for Gentlemates. They seem like on Haven that it was leaning towards NRG, basically losing in the first half of the map and then getting pistol, and that seemed like the momentous shift to be able to win Haven. But then after that, after winning pistol, it just seemed like, well, whatever scenario Gentlemates had, whatever chaos, even Starzo rewrapping and getting Brock off of the bomb, like it just seemed like the little things they were winning on Haven. And overall, it was a really exciting map. Like, I think that there was so many things that you don't see in traditional like regional Valorant. With the international maps or international games, it just seems like there's a whole lot of different scenarios that people are encountering. And I think when I speak of energy and I saw this map, I think what they're starting to lean on is a little bit more aggro, and which Ethan can lean on. Like, I think rather than being like a meticulous Neon, you kind of have to be like a Neon that sends it. And Ethan doesn't have to frag, and they end up losing this map. But I think that also leads into how they play other maps when Neon is just like having a Neon that sends it, creates space, and Ethan does that. He knows the role, even if he's IGLing as a Neon. He just knows that he's sending it. So Gentlemates win that, but the series still hangs on the second map, which is NRG. And honestly, Martin just seems like a really good overall like player. Like, he just doesn't have any dips in his performance. And on Ascent, he seemed like probably one of the best players in, on the server in that moment. And if it isn't for, how the series lays out, then it just seems like Gentlemates are favored. But unfortunately, on Ascent, NRG end up winning it. And I just seen in the later rounds that there was so many crucial like pivotal things that NRG was doing right. Pico, he has two options to either hold boathouse with the outlaw, or he can hold outside of the smoke. And so Kiko ends up doing right. He ends up splitting the 50-50, holds the smoke as Beepo swings out and kills Beepo before he denies plant, and then that ends up winning them the round. And even in a different scenario where Starzo's in a 1v2, he's trying to deny Spike as well with shock darts, and he goes and swings down lane and swings out or jump peeks with a shock dart, shocks the smoke, kills the defuse, but Brock, who doesn't have the spike, kills Starzo and before the timer runs out. And so little things like that, I feel like NRG were doing right, and that's honestly what NRG needed to be able to win out of these rounds. And I think NRG started to pick up on that GentleMix was starring or kind of like ratting. Like they would take timings out of smoke. They would also hold smokes. They would get inside smokes and play judges. And there was even a round where Mata is literally going and killing everybody, and there's two judges in the round, and he kills them both before the judge does any damage, which is crazy just because so many teams fall into the pretense of like how normal teams play. But if a team changes up their style, like as in they're playing judges, they're playing really, really ratty, you expect them to deviate and go back to the normal. But Gentlemates kind of like stuck into that, and what NRG did well was being able to adapt. And so NRG went Ascent, and then that goes into Lotus. And Lotus honestly showed me that Mata just needs to be like he just needs to be that guy. Like he needs to assert himself. Like there's so many first engagements when it came to Mata. He was 8-3, and not only that, but I feel like Mata kind of has to play the recon role, besides the traditional recon role, in the sense of where the duelist has to be self-sufficient in creating space but also staying alive, or Mata typically only gets one sometimes as he goes down, but creates the space as well. Or in this map, he just simply decided, all right, I'm going to win this map. Kind of like Alpha. I feel like Alpha does a balance of both, where he can create space but also get multi-frags and win the round, and even stay alive to the end and be able to clutch the team around, which is so important for a duelist. Like sometimes you're gonna send it in and you're gonna die. Sometimes you're gonna set it in and be able like to get one and then go down. And then there's players like Alpha that send it in, know when to back off, and also when to aggress. And I feel like Mata did a perfect balance of those. And for Gentlemates, it seemed like they were pretty competitive on this map. They end up losing this map to NRG 13-10. Honestly, this game is about the little details. Like there's little things in each map that a team does a little bit better than the team, and that's what this game came down to. If NRG isn't doing the little things, then Gentlemates are doing the little things, and it's about who's doing the little things a little bit better. And in this case, it could have been 50-50. And sometimes you're just unlucky. Like I remember the round where Scuba does ult, or the Viper's pit, because he's playing Viper, and then Martine takes the timing into the Viper's pit as Ethan planning to before the spike or before the time runs out. And so as the time is running out, Ethan goes to plant. Martine takes the timing and he kills Ethan. And then Scuba with the judge, he kills Starzo, and then Scuba goes and jumps and kills Martine. And so again, these little things that are either in your favor or not in your favor. Yes, maybe if you're in that position, you may have done something different, but that's just the things that we have to live with at the end of the day. And so overall, these games were really good. I think these games probably were probably one of the most competitive games I've seen in recent times, just because I think that there is some good in a single limb. Like it just seemed like the third maps, even though they don't go into overtime, like they just seem to brew like some special moments. And both of these third maps, they brewed some really crazy clips. And so that leads BBL and NRG. I think this is probably a long awaited rematch off of Master Santiago, just because of that NRG round where they're retaking in a man disadvantage, and BBL completely throw it to end up losing the map on split, and NRG moving on into whereas BBL are not eliminated, but they go down and face G2 and get completely stomped by G2. From there, BBL have been lackluster, but then as of recently, they've been on a resurgence just because of this new tournament. And so it's exciting to see BBL in this new resurgence where they're in a Eurolist meta and NRG are in a new meta where they're adopting the Neon, but Ethan is the Neon, which is pretty crazy to think about. So yeah, I think I'm gonna hold my predictions for that, and I'm gonna just kind of give a preview of the next games that are gonna happen tomorrow, or depending on this upload, pretty recently. It's 100 Thieves and MRBR, and then Team Vitality and Nongshim. And 100 Thieves and MRBR, I guess, is the unfortunate thing, just like Team Heretics and BBL, where it's a regional matchup. But we haven't seen both of these teams in a while. They didn't go to Masters London. So it seems like MRBR is in a different form right now, just because apparently the rumor is that Verno is no longer the IGL and Mazzino's the IGL. And so that's been a pretty interesting adaptation. 100 Thieves always seem good. They seem like probably one of the favorites, especially, considering the whole narrative that Team Heretics were the favorite. Along with Team Vitality does seem like the favorites. So if they end up in a collision course, it's going to be a pretty crazy game. I think 100 Thieves, depending on the pressure, they just seem like they are the team most likely going to hit the grand final, depending on who they face. I think if they face a Nongshim or even a Vitality, it can go either way. Or as MRBR, I think they can give them a run for the money. I think personally 100 Thieves are the favorite in this. MRBR are going for the upset. And then Team Vitality, I think, given the form that they're in, I think they are the favorite, but I don't think Nongshim are that bit of an underdog. They did go to a lower bracket, had to face G2 twice, beat them both times. And so I think both are going to be pretty interesting games. If they don't go into map 3 for both of them, just like these games for day 1, I'll probably be a little disappointed. So expecting map 3s, depending on the results, it's going to shape out a pretty good potential grand final between the winners of each matches. And unfortunately, somebody has to go home. So yeah, that's been day 1 recap. I think I'm going to start going over more of these in the future, just because depending on time zones, especially for like Pacific games over here in Americas, that's our sleeping time. I just want to give like more for people that have either watched it or are preparing to watch it, or just don't have the time to watch it, which there's a lot of Valorant being played. So just let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about these games and the potential new games that are going to happen. So yeah, I'll see you later.